What? I've been going there. Where you been?
I've been there.
Okay, good evening.
I'm injured though, so I shouldn't be going. Look at it.
Oh, look at that, yeah.
Yeah,
You probably shouldn't take time off.
Playing golf.
Okay, good evening. We're going to do a call to order for the Raymore Board of Adjustment meeting for Wednesday, August the 9th at 6 p.m. Let's do a roll call.
Excellent. Board Member Bailey?
Here?
Board Member Hatcher?
Here.
Board Member Woods? Absent. Board Member Harrison?
Here.
Board Member Martin?
Here.
And Board Member Valesco? Here. Excellent. We do have a quorum.
Thank you. If everyone would please join me and stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next on the agenda, we have personal appearances. I see none. Next on the agenda, we have the consent agenda for the approval of the minutes from the July 12th, 2023 minutes. Does anyone have any comments? Hearing none, may I please have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Make a motion we approve the consent agenda.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, thank you. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. Hearing none, the motion passes. Thank you. The next agenda item is unfinished business, and we have none. The next agenda item is new business. We have case number 23026, located at 590 Kreisel Drive. A variance to allow for a deck to be constructed closer than 5 feet from the property line. We will be having a public hearing.
Feel free to open the public hearing.
Thank you. It is now 6:02, and we will be opening the public hearing. Is there anyone here that would like to speak at the public hearing? We do have a summary in that. If you would like to make a statement, you can come to the podium, say your name and your address.
Thank you for meeting with me today. My name is William Clay. I live at 590 Kreisel Drive. I moved in, I closed on the house, the duplex, on November the 18th. But before that, they were building it, and I was under the impression that my builder would take care of everything that needed to be taken care of. During that time, between August the 30th till November the 18th, I was diagnosed with kidney failure, and a pacemaker was inserted. Therefore, I was dealing with my builder in the hospital and the rehab center, and I didn't know exactly what was going on. I moved in January the 15th, thinking that the deck would be built. The inspector came by and asked for the permit. I didn't know where it was at. He didn't have one. So I came to City Hall and talked to Dylan Eppert, who directed me to the process of going through this. And so therefore, I've tried to meet all the codes. So,
Thank you very much.
all right.
Appreciate
You're welcome.
it.
Thank you. Thank you.
David, staff report?
Yes.
Oh, let me go ahead. Staff report.
Excellent. Thank you. As the owner indicated, the request this evening is for the property at 590 Kreisel. The applicant and property owner is requesting a variance to section 405030B of the Unified Development Code, which states the required setback for a deck from the property line, which is by code 5 feet. In your packet are some photographs of the property in question, as well as the deck that was constructed attached to the property. The property itself is zoned R2P, single and two-family residential plan district. Because tonight doesn't require a public hearing, it was advertised in the June 21st June 21st edition of the Northcast Herald, and it was continued from July 12th to August 9th from our previous meeting. Items of record include the mailed notices to adjoining property owners, the notice of publication, Unified Development Code, the application, the growth management plan, and the staff report for this evening. A little bit of history on the subject property. It was originally zoned R1P single family in September of 1999. The property was platted in the early 2000s, and actually in July 9th of 2007 was zoned from R2P to R1P. And then subsequently in December 13th of 2021, due to lack of building in the subdivision, it was rezoned back from R1P to R2P to allow for the construction of the duplex on the property. A TCO for the property was granted on December 2nd of 2022. A couple of comments related to the request. As the applicant mentioned, no deck permit was obtained. One of our inspectors happened to pass by this property in the field, noticed that the deck was being built. So that was the nature of the request this evening. Notices were mailed to 20 adjoining property owners adjoining this property, and no objections were received. A couple of points to make here before the recommendation. Both 1718 and 1720 Joanne, which is the property directly east of this, is considered a double frontage lot, meaning it has frontage on both Joanne and the property street behind it. No other structures or principal structures can be built in the area that is undeveloped, so if the board does grant the variance for the deck to be constructed at the property line, staff does not believe it will be overly intrusive to any other accessory structures that could be built on the lot next door adjacent to the property. One thing that staff looked at, in 2015, the city adopted the Community for All Ages master plan for the city. As the applicant mentioned, there were some health concerns that were going on as this property was being built. One of the goals within that plan is to promote housing solutions that allow for aging in place. The patio that was originally constructed on the property was served by a set of steps out of the side entry of the home. And so bringing the deck up to the finished floor area of the home allows the resident to fully utilize the outdoor area of their property. Running concurrently with the application, which I'll explain in the next case, is a separate easement, a separate variance application. On the side yard of this property is also a utility easement. The code prohibits structures from being located within the utility easement, and I'll cover more of that information in the second application here. But staff did submit proposed findings of fact for the board's consideration and does recommend that the board approve the variance request for the reduction in the side yard setback for a deck in the side yard of this property. That concludes staff report.
Thank you, appreciate it. Do any board members have any questions or comments? I would like to add that I actually know this area very well. I manage the property that is catty corner, the duplex that is catty corner from this property. Know the situation about the boundaries and that very well, and am very supportive of this variance request. Anyone else? Okay. Hearing no other questions, I'd like to close.
Nope.
Oh.
Make sure anyone else from the public is able to speak.
Oh, sorry. Yes, is there anyone else out there from the public to speak? Seeing none, hearing none, we're going to close the public meeting at 6:08. Okay. Would anyone like to make a motion on case number 23026 at 590 Kreisel Drive regarding the variance to allow for a deck to be constructed closer than 5 feet from the property line?
I'll make a motion that we approve case number 23026, 590 Kreisel Drive, variance to allow for a deck to be constructed closer than 5 foot from the property line.
Thank you. Would anyone like to second that?
I'll second.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. No. Hearing none, the request passes. Thank you. The second case is case number 23032, address 590 Kreisel Drive, variance for a deck encroachment into a utility easement. The public hearing will open at 6:09 p.m. Do we have anyone from the public here to speak on that matter? Seeing none, staff report.
Yes, thank you, ma'am. Related to the previous case that the board just approved, this request actually deals with the vacation of the utility easement in the side yard of this property. Staff, there is a determined process to vacate utility easements that are no longer needed. Through our process and going through that with the applicant, it was determined that Evergy did have facilities in that easement, and therefore staff changed their position on vacating that without an agreement in place to relocate those facilities. Rather than proceeding forward with that, staff worked with Evergy to determine whether or not they would have any objections to allowing the deck to be within the easement, and they did not have any objections so long as the applicant understood that if they ever had to access any of those facilities, that any repairs that were needed would be the responsibility of the applicant himself. Within your packet, there is a letter from Evergy that stated the same and indicated that they were okay with the deck structure being in place. Everything about the property itself is similar from the last application, so I won't belabor those points for the commission or for the board, but staff did submit their proposed findings of fact for this request as well, and does recommend that the board approve this variance request to allow the deck to encroach within the 7.5-foot easement on the property.
Great, thank you. Are there any other public,
Applicant?
I'd asked earlier, but does the applicant want to speak? Thank you. Does anyone else in the public want to speak on this request? Okay. Do any of the board members have any questions or comments on this variance request? Okay. Seeing none, hearing none?
You're
Did
good.
you- Okay. I'm going to close the public hearing at 6:11 PM. Would anyone like to make a motion regarding case number 23032 at 590 Kreisel Drive for a request for a variance for a deck encroachment into a utility easement?
Yeah, I'll make a motion that case number 23032, 590 Kreisel Drive, variance for a deck encroachment into a utility easement be approved.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second. Having a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Hearing none, the variance passes. Thank you. David, staff comments?
Yes, thank you. Included in your packet should have been a copy of the department report for the month of July. So an uptick in permitting activity from prior months this year, which is good to see. And it kind of outlines some of the other active projects that are going on within the department, as well as the calendar for upcoming and previous meetings of both City Council, Planning and Zoning, and the Board of Adjustment. So me and Mr. Eppert will start forwarding those packets, those reports to you all more regularly, even if we don't have a meeting, so that this board stays up to date on everything that's going on. Outside of that, I'm happy to answer any questions about the report or any other items.
Okay, thank you. Next item is any board members have any comments? I only have one question. Do we have a variance request in from Elite Fence?
I spoke with their engineer this afternoon to give them direction on how to complete the application and some of the exhibits. We are expecting a application to be filed by Friday, and so we will likely have a meeting scheduled for the month of September. But either myself or Mr. Eppert will reach out to confirm that here by Friday.
Okay, and that most likely would be September the 13th.
That's correct.
Okay, 6 p.m., September 13th, if we could tentatively mark our calendars to ensure that we have a quorum. Hearing no other questions or comments by the board, I would request a motion be made for an adjournment.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Motion passes. We are adjourned at 6:14.
I might be out of town. Next meeting.
Welcome.
Huh?